For over 100 years, Ford has been the backbone of American industry, but now, the company is making a shocking move that could send shockwaves through the economy. While some call it a betrayal, others say it's the only way for Ford to survive. This isn't just another corporate decision. It's a direct challenge to everything Trump stands for. Ford's announcement changes the game for American manufacturing, electric vehicles, and the future of US jobs. The fallout is just beginning. How will this impact American workers and electric vehicles? Could this spark a bigger battle? Stick around. This is a story you won't want to miss. At first, it seemed like a standard corporate update, just another press release. But as details emerged, its significance became undeniable. Ford was no longer playing by Trump's rules. The company confirmed that a significant portion of its electric vehicle production would move overseas. For a brand so deeply tied to the American automotive industry, this was nothing short of a declaration. The response was immediate. News outlets broke the story within minutes. Social media erupted, and reactions flooded in, some praising Ford's boldness, others calling it a betrayal. Workers, industry leaders, and political figures all weighed in trying to make sense of what this meant for American manufacturing. But Ford didn't make this decision lightly. It had been navigating a tightening economic landscape for months, forced to choose between survival and loyalty to its American roots. When the moment came, the company made a move no one had anticipated. But this was just the beginning. Ford wasn't just protecting its bottom line. It had fired a shot in a battle that would shake the entire industry. What triggered this decision? That's where the story takes an even more shocking turn. At the heart of the conflict lay the cost of production. Trump's strict protectionist policies, meant to keep jobs in the US, had unintended consequences. Tariffs on key materials, like steel, aluminum, and lithium, for EV batteries drove production costs sky high. What was meant to prioritize American industry became an unsustainable burden for companies like Ford. Behind the scenes, Ford executives debated their options. Manufacturing EVs domestically under current policies made them less competitive globally. Meanwhile, international rivals, free from these restrictions, produce vehicles at a fraction of the cost. If Ford wanted to stay competitive, it had to act. Supply chain instability pushed them over the edge. Constant raw material disruptions caused production delays, a critical issue in an industry with razor-thin margins. Ford had tried to adapt, investing in domestic facilities, negotiating with policymakers. But as conditions worsened, the company faced a choice: stick with an increasingly unsustainable system, or take steps to stay dominant. It wasn't just about Ford's survival. It was about the future of EVs in the US. The company saw an opportunity to expand internationally and secure its place in the evolving market. Then, Ford made the call. The plan was set in motion. But once it became public, it was only a matter of time before Trump responded. And when he did not hold back. Trump wasted no time declaring war on Ford. Blindsided by the announcement, his response was swift, forceful, and explosive. At a rally soon after, he took the stage with fire in his eyes. Before he even spoke, the crowd erupted in cheers, sensing the fight ahead. Ford has turned its back on the American worker, he roared. They're shipping your jobs overseas while you're left to pick up the pieces. We built Ford. The American worker built Ford. And this is how they repay us. The crowd's outrage was real, and Trump knew exactly how to fuel it. He promised action, vowing that any company abandoning American jobs would face consequences: tariffs, penalties, loss of government contracts. Everything was on the table, but Ford had anticipated this. They knew this move would put them directly in Trump's crosshairs, yet they went through with it anyway, because this wasn't just about politics. The backlash was immediate, but it wasn't just from Trump's base. News stations across the spectrum took their own positions. Some argued that Ford's move was a necessary step in adapting to a changing global economy. Some saw it that way. Others called it a betrayal of the very workers who had kept the company alive for over a century. The debate quickly spread beyond the automotive world, drawing in political analysts, economists, and lawmakers from both sides. Yet, through it all, Ford remained steadfast. This wasn't just about making a statement. It was a calculated decision, and they were about to make that clear to the world. Instead of apologizing, Ford doubled down. In a carefully worded press release, the company addressed the controversy head-on, refusing to backpedal or soften its stance. They framed the move as essential for survival, innovation, and progress, emphasizing their commitment to leading the future of mobility. Ford wasn't just shifting production overseas to cut costs. It was positioning itself to dominate the electric vehicle market, gaining access to crucial materials and reducing expenses while continuing to invest in US-based research and development. However, the battle was far from over. If anything, it had just begun, as Ford's decision directly challenged Donald Trump's economic agenda, escalating tensions between the White House and one of America's most iconic automakers. The nation was now divided. Was Ford abandoning American workers? Or was this a necessary evolution for survival? The company's decision to shift a major portion of its EV production overseas clashed with the very foundation of the American automotive industry. But with skyrocketing domestic manufacturing costs and tariffs on essential materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, Ford faced a harsh reality. It had to adapt or fall behind. This wasn't just about Ford. It signaled a broader shift in the global economy, where automakers now competed not just with one another, but with entire nations and trade networks. While Trump framed Ford's move as a betrayal, calling for boycotts and policy changes, the bigger picture was more complex. Ford wasn't just fighting Trump, it was fighting Tesla. Tesla had long dominated the EV market, outpacing Ford in innovation, battery efficiency, and direct-to-consumer sales. Struggling to keep up, Ford saw global expansion as its only viable strategy. Tesla's success had redefined consumer expectations, making cutting-edge technology, software updates, and seamless charging networks the new standard. Ford's traditional manufacturing and dealership-based sales model was rapidly becoming obsolete. If it didn't act now, it risked being left behind. However, this decision came at a cost, sparking backlash at home and intensifying the fight over the future of American manufacturing. Trump, it has spread to Congress, where the battle takes on a new dimension. Ford's announcement has sent shockwaves through Washington, sparking a heated political debate that extends beyond the automotive industry. The decision has become a focal point in the ongoing struggle over American manufacturing, labor rights, and global competitiveness. Republicans accuse Ford of betraying American workers and yielding to global economic pressures, while some Democrats praise the move as a bold step towards sustainability and long-term market leadership. In an increasingly electrified world, legislators aligned with Trump push for retaliation, proposing punitive tariffs on automakers moving production overseas, tax penalties for companies shifting jobs abroad, and restrictions on federal contracts for those not prioritizing domestics manufacturing. Some lawmakers suggest revisiting trade agreements to impose stricter regulations on automakers. The rhetoric intensifies, with leaders framing Ford's move as either a betrayal or an inevitable evolution. Others argue the focus should be on making the US a more competitive innovation hub, advocating for tax credits for electric vehicle manufacturing, domestic battery production, and infrastructure modernization. The divide is not just political, it's personal. Ford workers and their families worry about job security, while auto unions demand reassurances that American jobs won't be sacrificed for cost-cutting. Investors analyze whether Ford's global strategy will boost long-term profitability or weaken its market position. Ford is not backing down. It has a calculated strategy beyond shifting production, aiming to redefine its future in the EV market and the global economy. Ford has announced a massive investment in battery technology and electric vehicle infrastructure, pouring billions into research and development to outpace Tesla by leveraging its scale, experience, and industrial infrastructure. The company is building battery facilities, forming global partnerships, and securing resources to control more of the EV supply chain, betting that early investment in cutting-edge technology will position it as the industry leader. However, this strategy carries risks, navigating complex political landscapes, shifting regulations, and potential retaliation from an administration viewing the move as un-American. Consumer support remains uncertain, as backlash could damage Ford's reputation. Just as Ford seemed to have a plan, Trump had another move. For Trump, this wasn't just about one company moving production abroad. It was a direct challenge to his economic vision. If Ford got away with it, what would stop other corporations from doing the same? The message had to be clear. Defy Trump's America First policies, and there would be consequences. Behind closed doors, Trump and his advisors devised aggressive countermeasures, starting with a push to revise tariff policies, imposing new penalties on automakers relying on foreign production to protect American jobs. He also threatened to revoke government contracts, stating that companies taking jobs away from the US would lose federal funding and tax incentives. The rhetoric escalated, with Trump declaring at a rally, "Ford was built by American hands, and if they want to take that legacy overseas, they will pay the price," receiving roaring approval from his supporters, many of whom worked in the industry.